Well, that song right there was Vacation by none other than me, Tiffany Carlen. And I'm no longer on vacation. I'm back home. Welcome back to a Wisdom Wednesday episode edition of JoCo Vibes. Here on JoCo Community Radio, I'm Tiffany Carlen with Nona Reed. I think we're both here. Are we here? I guess we're kind of here.
I'm trying to be.
Truly, I feel like I'm still on Siesta Key in Florida. Morning, Jamie. Because that's really where I'd like to be right now still. Love my people, love my family. But I had a great time. Love my friends. I missed you guys. But it was a much needed time away with some of my siblings and a great opportunity to connect and reconnect with them and have my toes in the sand. And
I mean, I was jealous.
yeah,
but
my forehead's peeling. Can you see it? I noticed it this morning. I did get I went out on the beach the first day, and usually, and people will think this sounds crazy, but I do put my makeup on when I go to the beach. But I do that because it's an SPF of 50.
Mhm.
And so that morning I didn't do it. I was just kind of lazy. Washed my face really quick and then I just used my regular sunscreen. So I burnt like all the way up to my hairline. And even with makeup, I had a hard time like covering it up. It was so red. But who's complaining? I'm literally not complaining. I had the best time, to be
That's
honest.
awesome.
So I've been all up and down the Gulf Coast. I lived on Pensacola Beach while I lived in Gulf Breeze and in Pensacola proper. And I've been all the way up and down the Gulf Coast. I had never been to Siesta Key, never been to Sarasota. I've been to Tampa,
Mhm.
which is still on the coast there too. But I'd never been right in this place, which knock on wood, my brother's the one who said it because he lives there. That area never gets hit with hurricanes.
Yeah.
Oops.
Maybe it's like right where it's kind of located. It just happens to be missed.
It's just in the corner almost, so that when hurricanes come in from the Gulf, they typically hit Gulf Shores, Pensacola area, Alabama and Houston, all up and down there and then into New Orleans. So it's just an odd area, and it just seems to miss it. So anyway, I loved it. It's such a quaint little town. If you've never been to Siesta Key, it is really, really cool.
Nice.
It's more expensive than some of your other areas on the coast. I'm not gonna lie. But worth it. So,
awesome.
I had a cute little 1-bedroom bungalow. And I was just, a 2-minute walk to the beach, just right there. And there's 54 units total where all these bungalows were. It's really, really neat. I never made it into like the bungalow community. Like I never went to the pool or anything like that because you can only fit so much in.
All right.
But I had a great time. So anyway.
I'm still jealous.
I know, I'm sorry. All right, but some things did happen while I was gone, and I know that City Councilman Jimmy Stanford's going to be joining us here in a few minutes. Morning, Calvin. And but it is the beginning of our week since we were not live yesterday. And
although Jimmy and I were going to be live,
you were going to, but you weren't feeling well.
Sinuses.
Nothing you can do about that.
These allergies are just killing.
So, focus word of the week. If you're joining us for the first time, this is something that we do every week. Focus word of the week. It's how one word a week will transform your life. It's by Clear Cherry Reeves. And I purchased this through Mary and Martha, who I absolutely love their stuff. It's a Christian-based store, online store or company. I don't know how you want to put it, but anyway. So this week's word of the week is courage. Be strong and let your heart take courage, all you who wait for the Lord. And the focus tip is when you find yourself afraid this week, remember that God is walking with you, giving you all the courage you need to fulfill your purpose. I like that. I like that. So, and being that so while I was gone, excuse me, not only did we have a school board meeting,
Mhm.
multiple city council meetings,
Mhm.
one of which I did get to watch, and then I did get to watch part of the school board meeting, and then my 12-year-old, and I'm not going to talk too much about this or go into the details, but it will come out. He received a sort of corporal punishment from a football coach at the school he attends here in Burleson for misbehaving in science class, to the extent that my son is now on day 7 of he's on day 7 of raging hives all over his body because of what was done to him. Along with he and another boy almost vomited from what they were made to do by this coach. And mind you, my son he's not on the football team either. And the disciplinary action, and I would love somebody's opinion too. I'd love your opinion. If you misbehave in science class, shouldn't you be disciplined by the science teacher? Shouldn't you have followed proper protocol to be sent up to the principal's office or to the disciplinary vice principal? They were made to sit out in the hallway. The teacher said to them, "Just go. I don't want to see your faces anymore." And so they were sent to sit out in the hallway. Morning, Jimmy.
Good morning.
They were sent to sit out in the hallway, and then no further disciplinary action was taken by that teacher or up the chain of proper disciplinary protocol, nor were I or the other parent contacted, and nor did my kid do anything that was that bad other than normal talking in the classroom type of disruption. Not that I think that's okay. Don't get me wrong. That's why I say contact the parents. My child's on loan to you, and if you can't control your temper when a child angers you in a classroom, you should be really careful the words that you use with somebody else's child and the disciplinary action you choose with somebody else's child. So I believe in the proper protocol of what's in the school handbook, none of which was followed, and we, the parents, were never contacted to tell us that there was any type of disciplinary action needed. And nor was anyone else told. Good morning, James Lucky. Nor was anybody else, meaning the principal, informed about anything that had taken place. So they misbehaved in the class on Tuesday, and then on Wednesday arrived to athletics to be pulled aside and then disciplined. Corporal punishment.
I'm just kinda in shock right now.
Yeah, I know. I was trying not to, overtake too much of my vacation time talking about what happened to my son. And so some phone calls. We've made some emails already, but there's some phone calls that are taking place today by my husband. So, and then I'll let you know what's going to happen. I mean, I guess I could tell you what he made him do. So they made these two boys. The coach made these two boys roll in the grass on school property for 200 yards straight. So 100 yards up and 100 yards back straight, of which they almost vomited from. Not only that, there is something that the school district puts on the grass that's been apparently causing hives to all of the sports kids who are on it. So this was informed to me in an email from the school principal. And she said, "Oh, I wish I'd known that this had happened because the school district had just come out to spray stuff on the grass to help keep the kids from getting hives." So the coach knew that kids were getting hives from the grass, and then he sent my kid another to go roll in it. Okay.
I'm just still in awe.
So 200 yards straight of rolling in the grass that
Because
has
the kid was talking in class.
pesticides, and fertilizer, and now something else on top of it. And it's already affecting the football team and other people. And so now you knowingly went and made my son roll in that.
Not to mention, maybe he has allergies to the grass. Did we know that?
He does. Yeah, my son does. Ragweed, and yeah, different times of the year. Both of my
Especially,
boys will break out from the grass. So, but it doesn't matter. Why were you punished by a completely different person, and why did the one teacher not follow proper protocol for punishment? And yeah, so there's some other things I've uncovered about their relationship, but knowingly they knew something was wrong with something was on this grass, and none of the parents have been informed about this issue. So we've got a lot of unanswered questions, and Todd was unable to go and meet with the principal about it because I was out of town and he was he had hearings. So, next steps is I'm not sure, but not happy parents whatsoever. And like I told the principal, I said, we're just one more step away from pulling our kid out of the school district. So,
and homeschooling is way on the rise.
Oh yeah, it is.
It is on the rise.
Defunding the schools is right on the rise.
This
too.
This is just
you
unbelievable.
Take your kid out, the money goes with them. It's coming.
So it should. So the teacher and the coach they're friends on Facebook. So I assume they have a friendship, which I encourage that. Teachers should be friends with each other. But to what extent are they friends that she went and complained about 2 boys in her classroom misbehaving, that he felt it his responsibility to then put this type of punishment on my child and this other boy, who are both still suffering from these horrific hives. So now he's on medicine from the doctor to help get rid of it.
Well, and there's discipline protocols, or at least there should be, and they should be followed.
Mm-hmm. Right. So that's what we're going to find out of. So that was my husband waited 3 days while I was on my vacation to tell me. So I was livid.
So
and
this happened last week.
Yeah, this happened last week. It happened last. Wow. They misbehaved on Tuesday. And then they were punished on Thursday by a completely different coach, the head football coach. So, and my son does not play football. So just throwing that out there too, because I think that's an important element. So,
but he's in athletics.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So
yeah, I've heard plenty of coaches
they had to do
say, let me know if they're misbehaving in your classes and stuff.
They had to do bear crawls too,
mm-hmm.
And that's not right. That's not right. It's
I always took care of my own discipline.
Well,
if you hand over the discipline to someone else, you're giving your control of the situation away. And so you need to handle it as the teacher that it's their classroom.
Now, I know that if you're on the football team, or if you're on a sports team, that each sports team, has conduct, rules and accountability.
Right.
And so I would get that if my son were on the football team. Like, hey, you're misbehaving in class. You've got to get on top of your thing, or you're benched from the next game for what you did in such and such classroom, or your grades are dropping. There's still protocols even for that.
Yes.
So, lots of questions to lots of questions to be answered. So anyway, so you attended this recent school board meeting.
Yes, and regardless of what some people like to post on Facebook, I wasn't there to harass anybody.
Harassing, that's such a stupid word. I'm sorry. When you're sitting there as a concerned citizen who pays taxes and you're doing nothing. And by the way, that person who posted that, he didn't start going to those meetings until I put my hat in the ring, and now he's at those meetings too.
Well, it's
anybody
funny
who's harassing, I would say it'd be him.
Well, exactly, and that individual's up walking around bothering people in the thing. But I sat on the back row quietly. Why was I there? Well, because I pay property taxes, and you know what? They're getting ready to raise my taxes, so I wanted to be there.
Because it was voted on.
Yes.
Well, I just want to say this really quick. Did you get up and speak publicly at the last school board meeting?
No, I didn't.
So when did you ridicule and harass anyone at the school board meeting?
Well, that's what I would like to know. The only two individuals I talked to in the chambers were the ones I worked with back in the PD days, which would be Richard Morris, who was I guess
I think he was
hired. I guess. Yeah.
I'm not sure how that works at this level, but he was hired, and of course, Kurt Brandon, who I worked with. So yeah, I did talk to those two individuals.
Yeah.
It actually came up to me though in the back row. So
right. So it's just crazy the things that they've turned this out to. So
exactly,
the BISD did vote on a higher tax rate.
Yes.
So this individual commented on Facebook, said BISD could not go any lower than the 1.4429 rate, or BISD would lose state funding. Now, of course, I have not had. This was just brought to my attention early this morning, so I have not had a chance to look up and do any fact checking.
So I did a little deep dive on this because I was really curious. One of the things, and so we have to be careful of the words that are said. So what Mr. Jimerson said, and I'm not going to quote him, but I'm going to paraphrase him. But basically, he said that the TEA sets a minimum rate, and they can't go below that. So they went ahead and adopted this rate. I don't know that Mr. Jimerson ever said that this rate was going to be below that rate. He threw it out there, and there's some truth in that. So in law enforcement, before you take the stand, you have to tell the truth.
Hold on.
Truth.
Hold on. We're going to go to a quick commercial break. We're going to come back, and we're going to dive in really deep on this here. Stay with us, guys, here on JoCo Community Radio. We'll be right back.
Abnormal realities.
I love my mom.
Yep. She sent me a message.
My mom did?
Yeah, Wednesday night. And she invited me over tomorrow night to watch Titanic and share a bowl of popcorn. And I accepted.
You did?
Yep.
That'd be fun.
And she calls it Chaps Only Night. Every Saturday night.
Look.
Miss Dixie,
look,
how you doing? He said, it's my mom, bro. All right, it's my mom.
I want to hear the answer to the Titanic and popcorn. Go ahead, Mom. What's up?
Oh!
Hi, boys. I just wanted to ask Rocky if he wanted butter on that popcorn or not.
I would rather have the butter somewhere else, but if popcorn's the only place I can have it, I'll take it.
Jeez,
hey,
dude.
nobody says I can't roll around in it for a little bit more.
All right, Mom.
That is my girl. I love you,
Mom.
Dixie.
Abnormal realities.
My mom, love you.
Dixie.
Bye, I love you too.
With Ron and Rocky. Weekdays, 4 p.m. and 10 p.m. on JoCo Community Radio.
Holy crap.
Out of deck carpet giving you the blues? Tired of your old dingy and broken tile? Let my friends at the Floor Store in Cleburne, Texas give your home the makeover it deserves. This is Old Taco Joe coming to you for the Floor Store. Whether it's carpet, tile, wood flooring, or real wood laminate, the Floor Store can cover all of your flooring needs. Located at 405 West Henderson Street in Cleburne, Texas, owner Brent Harris can help. Shower tile, tub surrounds, even backsplashes. Give them a call today at 817-641-9444. The Floor Store, they got you covered. When you're hungry for tender brisket or some delicious homemade cobbler, then look no further than Leach Brothers Barbecue, located at 1106 East Henderson, Cleburne, Texas. Leach Brothers has been family-owned and operated since 1950. Take it from me, Taco Joe Orwinski. Todd and his family have been filling my belly breakfast, lunch, and dinner for a long time. Heck, I even have my own booth, open Monday through Saturday, 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. Come see them for dine-in, carry-out, and all your catering needs.
And welcome back to the second half of JoCo Vibes. JoCo Community Radio is proud to be the voice of Johnson County, Texas, and is live 365 on the TuneIn Radio Network. To listen or watch, simply go to the tuneinjoco.com to choose where and how. The JoCo Community Radio app is now available for free on Android and Apple devices. Simply search your store. Check out our lineup and more on the JoCoCommunityRadio.com. This episode and more is brought to you by Patriot Claims, making your insurance work for you. Reach out to your Texas sales rep, Nona Reed, at 844-TEX-HAIL, 844-839-4245.
Get her in your corner before the next storm hits, would you? I'm Tiffany, Carlen, Nona Reed, and Burleson City Councilman Jimmy Stanford is joining us this morning. Good morning, everyone. Thank you guys for tuning in. We appreciate you very, very much. And so right before we went to break, Jimmy was going into a breakdown on some BISD tax stuff.
Yeah. So, what Mr. Jimerson said, and I think people are taking it out of context. What he said is that there is a minimum that they can take it down to, and then they lose their tier 1 funding, is basically what he said. And that's true. The TEA for the 21 year, it was 0.8563. So it probably went up just a little bit, maybe 8.7 or something like that. But any below that, they would risk losing funding. Now they can go as high as 0.17 above the MCR rate.
Okay.
And the numbers indicate that they pretty much went to the max, the maximum amount that they're allowed to go to. Now they didn't say that in the presentation. They left it in such a way that I think left some confusion out there, and people think, oh my gosh, they had to do this. Well, no, they didn't. They could have gone much lower. They could have gone ahead and not imposed at all any kind of tax increase and still kept their tier 1 funding.
Yeah, because they've had a tax increase since 2017 that I could go back as far to. Yeah. I mean, every year it is a tax increase.
Right. So
we knew this was coming.
Tier 1 FSP calculations for the Tier 1 begin with a basic allotment per student, which is currently $6,160 per student. That can vary on some of the smaller school districts based on adjustments that they apply for that. So butts and seats is the biggest and most important thing to a school district. Mm-hmm. If you don't have a butt in the seat, they lose that $6,160.
Yes. So it's very important.
Right. And so there's a lot of factors that go with that. And I think that's why anybody, I don't care, people are trying to create these sides in Burleson here that really don't exist. If you're just a concerned citizen or a concerned parent, then you want what's best for our kids. And so that money, those butts and seats, is important to everybody. I mean, I want my kid to be in a seat that's safe and teaching him the stuff that is appropriate. And there is absolutely nothing wrong as a parent to want that in my child's public education that I'm paying for. It's not free.
No, it costs money. And ultimately somebody's going to make up that $6,000. I'd rather it be out of the state coffers than out of our local pockets. So I support at least going with the minimum MCR, but we didn't even come close to that.
Right. And so, and then the minimum, so the tier 2, a district's tier 2 tax rate consists of the tax effort above the district's MCR up to a maximum of an additional 0.17. And then the tier 2 tax rates generate resources through a guaranteed yield program where one penny of tax effort yields a certain dollar amount per student from a combination of state and local sources. So there's funding coming from multiple levels and multiple places. That's on top of our tax dollars.
Yes, and I'm gonna go on a limb here and just say that I'm not even going to pretend to understand this. This is like trying to read the tax code. It's very confusing, but it is pretty clear that the MCR, hey, we'll give you the numbers. The state that comes out and says, here's your MCR numbers. You can go all the way down to there, and we didn't do it.
Well, I will say this: if people really want some clarity on how it works, I actually do have a PowerPoint from when I was on the bond committee that Brenda Mize put together that was extremely, very self-explanatory and very simple explaining. And Brenda she is great as our finance director. She does a wonderful job. She knows how to invest money in the right places and pay things down. I think they really do a good job with that, and she's spectacular at their job. What I have a challenge with is when the school is not being transparent about particular monies. And so I have done JoCo Community Radio has done a open records request for something very specific. And part of the response that I got back was simply kind of something like that. Well, I know understanding school budgets can be a very difficult thing for people. Well, what I'm looking for is just for you to basically answer all of my bulleted questions, and none of them were answered.
Well, exactly. That's the reason I
do you know who doesn't do that? I could have sent the same thing requesting this information from our city secretary.
Yes.
And I would have been answered. Each line item would have been answered
exactly
according to the Public Information Act.
Exactly. And that's the way it should be. The reason I even mentioned that is because I could get off in the weeds and try to figure out, okay, well, if this group does this, then that means this. No, I just need to know, what is the MCR? And then did you go below it? Or did you go a percentage high enough to where we have to get into having an election? And we didn't even come close to the MCR. We went way above it. So we imposed a tax increase that wasn't necessary. And if it was necessary, then show me why it's necessary.
Well, I think that's the biggest question. And the city had this. You guys just had your budget meeting.
Yes.
Let me find my wording here.
Yes.
You guys just had your budget meeting for the city of Burleson, and that discussion actually took place in the public.
Yes.
Here's why we want to raise your taxes. We need this, and this. We're not having that getting that transparency from the school district. And how dare anybody say that that's not our business?
It is our business. And here's the thing of it. Regardless of which one of us or all of us or none of us sit up there and say, we need this, that's not our needs. That's your needs. That's the community needs. We need to quit worrying about what is our needs and worry about what the community and the people we're supposed to serve. That's their needs. There's no our needs, or there shouldn't be any our needs. If we're elected people that have their needs met, then we're electing the wrong people.
Are we? I'm just kidding.
Well, we're not electing them because they're not having elections because they're telling people they can't be on the ballot, and then no one fights them. And then,
well, nobody's voting. That's our.
And then when we do, then when
they're not
we
getting out and voting,
fight them. We have people that don't even know there was an election.
Well, but that's that's why the law requires joint elections for school board,
and that's why they did this,
right?
When they did it.
And so,
so we didn't really elect they might have been elected years ago, but 20 years ago doesn't count as being elected official anymore to me. I'm sorry. When you haven't had an election for you to be elected into, you're not an elected. You've been placed there by these people that are have an agenda. I'm sorry, have an agenda.
Well, they do have an agenda.
Yeah, when I can't even get some of my open records request.
And
it's starting to tick me off. I'm done.
There shouldn't be any open records request. It should be out there on the website for all of us to look at.
Well, this one is going to be an open records request, I will tell you.
Yeah,
but still, when I have documentation from the school district telling me I've given you everything we have, and I know for a fact that you sent out a letter and you're not providing it to me, there's an issue.
Well, there was a link in the PDF that was a scanned copy, so it's not a link that you could.
And I even said that, and they tell me they could. They've given me everything they can. They have.
So
no, you haven't.
Well, and what I was talking about in open records is that a lot of the stuff y'all are asking for,
we should not have to be correct.
I mean, it should just be out there. The proposed budget should be out there for everybody to look at and say, okay, we want to spend this much on this. Does that make sense? Is that where I want my tax dollars to go?
Right.
I mean, that all that information should be provided readily without needing to go through open records. It's our money.
Well, this is really
100%.
I just want to read you part of what was the response that I got. Okay, so the one attachment that I got to my request, which I don't want to talk in detail about right at this moment as to what I was requesting it for, but I got a 1-page response with three lines on on this budget page. That each line says $108,800. What is $10? What is $100 times 1,800?
What, 180,000?
Yeah, something like that, right?
I think.
I'm sorry, it's 1,084 teachers, so
Okay.
108,000. So it shows it as a line item, but it doesn't specify what exactly it is. But even if you have money budgeted for bonusing a teacher, you have to tax the teacher on the bonus money.
Yes. It's compensation.
And if it was, if you're going to tax them, it had to been put in a check, not cash. And if it's cash, then the teachers have to do invoices, show receipts, and turn them in. Because I gave you $100 cash for your classroom. It's supposed to be spent on the classroom.
And they weren't requested to turn in receipts for the classroom.
That's a lot of cash to keep around.
It is a lot of cash that just happened to be found, by the way. So, so to me, that's the words that were used during the convocation from the school board president, was that we the board happened to find money in order to enable giving each teacher $100 for your classroom supplies. Well, found implies that we found some money. Well, that does not imply it was already budgeted.
Well, found has a direct correlation word that goes with it, and that's lost. So
right.
if you found it,
it was lost in the first place.
It was lost in the first place. And where did you lose it from? Was it budgeted originally when it was lost? Did we ever account for losing that much money?
There's laws, and there's also requirements that when you're going to bonus a group of teachers or give a group of teachers or a group of staff a bonus, a raise, a gift, you must discuss that in an open meeting and vote publicly about it. If it's regarding one teacher, that can be done in closed session.
Because that's more private.
Well, and let's go back to the open meeting. I sat there at the last school board meeting. It's an action item. They're talking about the budget. They never opened it for public discussion. I sat there and I
noticed
waited.
That.
I sat there and I waited, and it's like, what? We're not going to have any public discussion.
No, they don't want to.
Well, and the Open Meeting Act also requires them to open that publicly. And so I would file a grievance about it because you had a right to comment on it and ask questions. And it is to take place before they vote.
Yeah. And I'm not meaning to harass, but I would like to know what's the MCR because I can't find it. The only thing I can find is the MCR for last year. I'd like to know, well, what is the MCR? And so you're telling us it's got to go this much above the MCR. Can you explain why? I don't know. I guess some people would say I'd be harassing if I asked those questions. But to me, as a taxpayer, I want to know that.
Since when did questioning our elected officials become harassment?
I guess since I ran for council, but
right.
Yeah. I mean, it's really a serious question. I mean, and I think we talked about this last week before I left town. That there's an entire group of people who are referring to parents who are now speaking up at board meetings and really getting involved. They're calling us domestic terrorists.
Yeah, because we're just asking questions. It's our money. It's our kids. Why do we not have a right to have some involvement?
Well, why is grassroots efforts for any type of political or government entity? I mean, would you want? And I'm posing this question out to people who are not involved in the school board or doing this type of stuff. But if there's something you're passionate about, a nonprofit or whatever, if you were getting up and speaking out about something that you're so passionate about or that's important to you, would you want to be called domestic terrorists?
We're supposed to have a system of government whereby we can go voice our concerns. That's what our country's found upon. The idea that we can actually speak out. That's the reason we left England.
Right. Freedom of speech.
But
freedom of religion.
Yes.
But it's changed and people have kind of just settled in their way. And I think more people are going, wait, I think I'm ready to get more involved in this. These questions aren't being answered and things like that. people have just we went about our day not really thinking,
And you
oh
still,
well, the school's handling it. They got it. No big deal. Or the city has it, or our government has it. No big deal. Or the state has it. And now they're like, whoa, we've given way too much power to these people, and they're abusing it. That's the problem.
we're starting to see it, but sadly, there's still a lot of people out there that don't see it. I mean,
100%.
I still get people that want to throw stones at me or whatever, because I say that we raised our taxes, and we did raise our tax rate. Okay. Now
you're talking city tax. Are you talking city taxes?
I'm talking everything.
Okay.
So there's something called a no new revenue rate. And just to put this in simple terms, what the state does is the state looked at this and they said, you know what? We're tired of what the local governments are doing. Let's go ahead and compare apples to apples. And the only way to do that is to take this year's current valuations, comparing to last year's current valuations, and figure out, okay, what would the tax rate have been last year based upon this year's current valuations, so that everybody's paying the same amount of taxes. It's adjusted. And that's the no new revenue rate. That's the MCR rate. That's, depending on which group you're looking at, they have that rate and they publish it and they make sure it's out there for everybody to know, hey, here is the effective tax rate of what it should be for you to pay the same amount of taxes you paid last year. But yet all the government entities love to sit there and post, oh, look, we lowered the tax rate. They lowered the percentage points. You've raised the other end of it. You can't raise one side without raising the other.
Right. Well, nobody's going to, I think for some people they're not going to build their visual. We all learn differently.
Mm-hmm.
And so for a lot of people, it's going to probably come down to, when they get their property tax bill, and then they compare it to last year's property tax bill and, and they see the increase, then they're going to question and go, but wait a minute, I thought they said they lowered it. And then you're going to understand what just happened to you. I mean,
and the visual is important because they always love to show the PowerPoint presentation of the little bar graph showing the tax rate going down, and love to talk about, this lowest tax rate since you've raised everybody's property taxes. You haven't lowered the tax rate.
I'll create a graph for you. I'll take the past 14 years of being in my home and put it into a spreadsheet, and I will create a lovely graph for you that will show the arrows going a different direction.
Yes.
Now we have fought quite a bit. And same thing we've had to do with, our commercial property too, which, by the way, we don't get to homestead that.
Well, and that's something people don't realize.
And even when we turn 65, if we still own our commercial property, we don't get the age restriction of raising taxes either. So now, even when you hit that, your tax rate can come down, but it can never go above a certain level.
Well, and that's what people don't realize is, and so even whenever the county, the appraisal district puts out the numbers, the average home value in Burleson is like $253,000. I challenge you, find me that home in Burleson is $253,000.
I'm sorry, I don't know where they're getting that average from.
Well, I do. You mentioned earlier, it's on the 65 and over that have their homes homesteaded.
True.
So if your home hasn't been appraised in 20 years, it's probably not going to be a current market value. Now, what does that mean? The median average though is $350,000. So we don't put that out there. We don't put out that, hey, you know what? Most people are not going to be paying that $253 taxes, tax on $253. We're going to pay it on $353.
Right.
The homestead, you're capped at 20%. Well, what if you just got a huge tax increase and now you've got up to 20%? Now, what about the renter? You mentioned commercial. Renters are not capped.
No, we pass it on. If you're paying triple net as a renting commercial space, paying triple net, you pay your portions. I pay triple net for here. So I pay my portion of my property tax that I'm renting in this space. So, and that fluctuates with it. It also can affect, if you're not paying triple net and you're renting commercial space, it's most likely going to flip on the end of when your lease is up for renewal, your rental rate is going to go up. It's the same thing with people renting homes, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you rent a home and I'm just going to go with houses. If you rent a house, because I think that's more important on being able to show the other side of it. If you rent a house from someone who literally rents houses, like that's their business. That's a big source of their income. They own 20 rental properties and that's what they do. Well, their taxes are going up. There is no triple net when you're renting a home.
Yes.
That's only on commercial
and they're
rental.
not capped.
Right. And they're not capped. And so they're going to feel it in the rate of getting your rental rates kicked up because you're not homesteading all of your rental properties. So they have any other way to compensate or fight those increases except to pass it on to their renters. So it's affecting everybody. It's the same thing with if you're renting an apartment, it affects their commercial property.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to think about how large apartment complexes are and how much their taxes are. They have to pass that on.
Well, and it's not even just that. It's, the people that look at it and say, well, it's only going to cost me this much based upon the numbers give me. Well, you know what? Go get your hair done.
Mm-hmm.
Because guess what? That person that's doing your hair,
their rent's
go eat.
Hey, yeah. Look, my dog groomer, who I adore, Tiffany Hess, if you're looking for a mobile dog groomer, by the way, she's absolutely fabulous. But she's mobile. And so when the gas prices went up, the cost to groom my dog went up $10.
Yeah. And so these are pass-through costs that a lot of people don't even realize they're paying.
Yeah.
I mean, I bought a 6-pack of tacos. I'm still kind of miffed about it, but it's like 6-pack of tacos was $20.
I heard that.
Seriously.
I know, right?
I read that somewhere online where people were talking about that, and they were talking about certain restaurants that really went up high on chicken to go. I don't buy fast food that often, so I honestly don't know.
Uh-huh.
But it's tacos.
Yeah, it's tacos. And doesn't it make you go, I could have just made these at home? This is sad, right? For like way cheaper. But I mean, a lot of people have had to go to that. But then again, like, Todd and I were driving home from the airport last night and you hear recession. We're going into recession and you're going, are you looking at all the restaurants that are full and the people that are out on the road? The people that were traveling. When I flew out of Dallas last week, and thank God for TSA pre-check because I have that. But even there, awesome. We had a line of about 10 people, which is not usual. Usually it kind of flows really fast. But to the left of us for the regular boarding area, it was jam packed. Mm-hmm. The entire line was completely full at Dallas Love Field. So people are traveling, they're moving, and it's not cheap to fly right now.
No, nothing's cheap.
So you just kind of have to, I look in and you listen, you hear recession and you go, but where and who is it really hitting? Because people are on the move. And I'm not saying it's not hitting anybody. I would just like to know where it's really hitting.
Which demographic is it hitting the hardest?
Right. And that's an important thing to look at, an important conversation to have.
Yes.
Because if it's hitting the poorest of our community and they're getting hit the hardest with this, we need to figure out something.
Well, and that's where I bring up, because in the city, we did a lot of stuff this past summer. I was seeing, and I'm still seeing, extremely long lines at food banks. I mean, those are getting longer. So it looks to me, and I don't have any kind of, measurables that I can give you, but it looks to me like it's hitting the poorest people the hardest. These people on fixed incomes, and all of a sudden we're raising their taxes and they're paying more to get their hair done or go get some food or something, or even buy their medicine. I think it's the poor part of our society.
Right. Well, and gas, how do you're going to work and you're making minimum wage and you're working literally to fill your gas tank. What's left over? And if, again, here we are talking about rental rates going up, what it costs to rent an apartment right now or even a house it's mind blowing. It's a mortgage payment.
And it's going up again.
Right. It's a mortgage payment.
It is.
And it will have to go up again. It will. I mean, the property values are increasing, and we just raised the taxes.
This is something I was talking to my brother about, who lives in Florida, and I have a sister who lives there too. And it's great to really know people who live all over. And there's 7 of us. So, and we live, 3 of us are here in DFW and the rest, New Jersey, Florida, Minnesota. And so to talk to each of them and to hear what's going on in other states and realize we have a lot of similar problems going on. a lot of similar problems going on. The same arguments, the same fights, the same everything. Looking at, tax rates and my brother knows someone who's paying $10,000 a year for her property taxes out there in Sarasota. But she doesn't even have home insurance because that would be another 10 grand.
See, and that's where a lot of people, and we're going to find people that don't have things. That's the reason I think it's important to make sure you're electing people that'll go with the MCR rate.
Right.
That will go with the no new revenue. I voted no new revenue.
And do their due diligence. You want to have people in there who are going to do their due diligence. And we're going to keep having these conversations because they're educational, not just to those who are listening, but also to us. I learned something too. So thank you, Jimmy.
Thank you.
Nona and I will be back tomorrow morning. Maybe Jimmy will join us again. I don't know. We'll find out. For Thankful Thursday. Have an amazing day. God bless.
From Burleson to Venus and Grandview to Godley, this is the voice of Johnson County, JoCo Community Radio.
Hey, Jill, congratulations on your son getting into the college of his dreams and with a full scholarship, too.
Yes.